The thrill of travel, wild adventure, and big machines on this episode of Mavericks Unlimited. A job for real men. Here, absolutely everything gets leveled. Demolition is good business, and one of the best in the business on the US East Coast is Lee Danley. In addition, trees growing in the middle of the Panama Canal, obstructing shipping. It's not only very difficult to chop them down, but also really dangerous. And the largest granite quarry in the world, massive rock formations that demand everything from the workers, extremely hard labor. All this now on Mavericks Unlimited. Let's kick off in the USA, or more accurately, in New Hampshire on the East Coast. Whoever wants to be involved in the demolition business must play by certain rules. The process is just like an auction. However, the difference is the lowest price wins. In business for 20 years, Lee Danley. Every day he is uncompromising in his calculations. He photographs the property, estimates the amount of work, and his wife Rita submits an offer. 20 years ago, Lee had only a digger. Now he has almost 40 vehicles in his fleet. The first goal on Lee's tour today, a bank wants to pull down a detached house. He was awarded the contract for $8,000. It's a loss-making venture if Lee doesn't find something valuable in it. For the first time, Lee sees the inside of the house. He searches every nook and cranny and every box, but he's not found any treasure.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But we can look down cellar too.
The basement can be a real gold mine. Perhaps down here, treasure hunter Lee will get lucky.
Well, I do see one thing that's worth a couple of dollars. And see that's a brand new furnace. That's a hot air furnace that feeds the rest of the house, and that's new. And this hot water tank here, there's about $300 right there in this, in the furnace itself. And then over here is the hot water tank. That's new, that's about $100. And there's the oil tank. And the oil tank has, let's see. It's got about this much oil in it, so that's good. We salvage all the oil and reuse it, and that, and that. So there's close to $1,000 right there. So that's a good thing. That's worth coming down in the basement for.
It wasn't real riches, but Lee is still satisfied with the result.
Everything that we found downstairs, probably $1,500 in this house, even though it looks like crap.
Nowadays, homeowners rarely leave behind anything really valuable in their houses. Until a few years ago, that was totally different. Lee collects exclusive finds or things he simply likes. He even has his own shed for this purpose. And what he's found is impressive. Motorboats, vintage records, Colt bikes from the 1970s, the dentist chair on which JFK was treated, and
this is one of 3 watches that were in the safe. It's a Breitling. It's a anniversary type. It's 5.5 carat diamonds and 24 karat gold, and it's worth $42,000. I don't know what happened. They left 3 of them behind, and they said everything there is yours for salvage rights. I don't know if they really knew they left this, but $42,000. And then there's 2 more watches.
Success or failure, that's a crucial factor in Lee's business.
Usually it's the price, so I always try and give my best up front. There's also other people that I'll give a price to, and they'll go to my competitors and say, okay, Danley is at this much, can you do it for 20 or 30% lower? And they'll go, yeah. Now they're not making any money because our profit margin is not that large.
Lee, however, has made a lot of money with this shopping center. His team was actually only meant to prepare a car park, but after a fire, almost all the building was compromised. Everything that wasn't consumed by the flames will be pulled down by Lee's demolition team. Everything else, however, must be left undamaged. That makes the job complicated, because Lee has to pay if something is damaged that wasn't supposed to be destroyed.
What we're going to do is we're going to cut that roof and take this away and leave that wall, because that's another building. This wall is coming down.
Before starting, Lee goes on a treasure hunt. However, what has survived the flames was damaged by the firefighters' water, but Lee knows where the treasure is hiding.
So now it's our turn to come in. The insurance company has already paid the tenant, and all the rest is ours to sell. So what I do is I look around and I say, okay, this is good, this is better. Oh, I like that right there. That right there is very nice. I can't believe they left that behind. That's very, very nice. Not a lot of miles on it. I could probably easily get $300, $350 American dollars for that. $30 for that maybe if I can clean it up with a steam cleaner. There's $100 right there just for that. These tires, there's another $200. So there's $600 right there just for that. Now the vacuum cleaner, and there's $35, and this is $200 a section. That's $100 just for that bench. There's $25 and there's $10. So when you add up everything in here, it's crazy what people leave behind. And we're the ones that make out on it.
Lee sells everything that can be used, either on Craigslist, an online platform for classified ads, or to loyal customers, or it ends up in his own workshop. The rest is then dismantled into individual parts by Kip, the digger operator, in order to recycle the waste.
That's right. Take that, you son of a bitch.
Only when the waste has been cleared away can the demolition start. And for that, Kip only needs his digger.
All right, now.
Almost everything can be leveled by Danley's demolition men. Steel, wood, and concrete are no problem whatsoever. The only things Lee doesn't touch are buildings higher than 6 stories. The reason is simple. The machines and the insurance are too expensive for such high buildings. A few days later, very little of the shopping centre can be seen. However, the recycling process takes up most of the time. This is because Lee needs to precisely separate rubble, iron, copper, steel, or aluminium. And the more accurately he sorts, the higher his profit is.
Kip is still taking the building down, and he's kind of getting it all ready for Jim. And now this is all the masonry. This is all clean masonry, and we crush it all up, and we can use it for road base, parking lot base. This is the heavy metal. This is the real heavy stuff. That's called number 1. That's the good stuff, the heavy number 1.
That's what I'm talking, okay?
There's a system to what looks like wild hammering with a digger. Kip knows exactly how the building has been constructed.
Nobody messes.
And it's the only way to ensure that he finishes the demolition quickly and safely. The last wall. The men from Danley Demolition have finished the job. But the most important thing, the neighboring building is completely undamaged.
Good. It's over.
Good.
It's done.
That's it.
Now all we gotta do is clean it up. Nope, we're all set. The hard part's down. Nice job, Kipper.
That's right. We're a team. That's right.
That's right. On to the next one.
That's right.
Now the demolition professionals have to get rid of the chaos on the rubble heap, as the work on the new construction will start in 24 hours. The shopping centre was a gold mine for Lee. People like him, who play their cards right, can earn a lot of money with what looks like waste. Now we move on to Central America, to the Panama Canal. In it, there are many huge trees submerged in the water because during construction over 100 years ago, large parts of the rainforest were flooded. Now, they disrupt the movement of massive freighters, not only above the water, but also underneath, where they can't be seen. Around 40 ships travel along the canal each day. Their passage costs between $40,000 and $55,000. However, the Panama Canal has become much too small for modern giant ships. It needs to be expanded, and not just the locks, but also all along the entire canal. This is the responsibility of diver and underwater logging specialist Javier Freiburghaus and his team. But Javier had to purchase a license from the government to do this, as wood from the canal is profitable. Now at 7 in the morning, it's the daily team meeting. Javier allocates diving groups and allocates tasks. The underwater loggers have breakfast before they depart. There's chicken and rice. No one works without having a hearty breakfast first, because their job is probably one of the most demanding in the world. They set off onto the Panama Canal on a wobbly raft. The diving crews find the trees at random. A few poke out of the water. These trees are dead, but the wood is still usable, and it's a very environmentally friendly way of obtaining tropical timber and conserving the endangered rainforest. As no atmospheric oxygen or pests can reach the timber underwater, it hasn't rotted. It's only out of the water that there's oxygen present to begin the rotting process. That's why the crowns of most trees have broken off over the years. Javier is currently standing on one. The positioning of interesting trunks are marked using GPS so that the men can find them at a later date. Final preparations before diving. An employee sharpens the blades of the power saw. And sharp in this case means more than razor sharp.
To keep it so sharp that doesn't actually needs to be in use to be a danger. One time I was working a tree and the current just moved me around and the chainsaw fall in my arm without using it, and it did open me from here to here. It just fall there and this thing open like that. And it's just the way it is. It's a little bit dangerous, you know.
One of the teams intends to work on this massive tree and ties up the boat. Javier prepares the dive. An employee immobilizes the tree at various points using steel cables. Another fills barrels with water so they sink. He attaches them to the tree trunk. After they have finished sawing, they will be filled with air while underwater. They will provide the buoyancy that will lift the sawn-off tree trunk to the surface. But first of all, it needs to be sawn. The saw is operated hydraulically, as electric cables underwater would be too dangerous. A few meters down, and the water is pitch black. On the riverbed, Javier works in zero visibility. He can't see if a danger approaches. For example, an alligator, and there are thousands of them.
What we try not to do is think about them, because when we go to work, we cannot see our hands in front of us. And if we're thinking about alligators, then we could really get nervous and then do a mistake. So really, we just go to work, don't think about them. We know they're there, but thank God, we hope never to see them on there.
These images were filmed near the surface of the water, where visibility is better. In this case, a 40-meter tree is cut up into segments so that it can be transported to the shore. It takes hours to complete all the underwater sawing. The man on the surface monitors the equipment and stays put, whatever the weather. Fortunately, tropical rain is not cold. 3 hours later, the men have finished sawing, but the buoyancy to lift the logs is still missing. The so-called ironwood is so dense that it doesn't float. Other types of wood also need buoyancy aids because they are so heavy. From the raft, the men pump air into the underwater barrels that provide the necessary buoyancy. The bubbles are a sign that they are almost finished, and the logs weighing several tons can be lifted. These tree trunks were in the water for over 100 years. Underwater wood is the best kind of tropical wood, and this method of obtaining it is significantly greener than logging tropical trees from the rainforest. Because if you want to reach a valuable tree in the rainforest, for example teak, you have to cut a lane through the jungle. As a result, trees are felled just because they are in the way and impeding transport. But for the underwater loggers, there are no other trees in the way of the logs removal. The team pulls the colossus of a tree under the raft and into position for transport. However, new problems are waiting for them on the bank of the canal. This is because getting an almost 16-meter-long tree trunk weighing several tons onto land is anything but easy. It can't be done in one piece. Therefore, the tree is cut into easier-to-manage pieces using the power saw. Only then can it be brought onto land using a steel cable. A couple of tree trunks which have arrived are still underwater. That means they have to dive into the water in order to attach the steel cable. Only in exceptional cases can they determine at this moment exactly what kind of tree it is. That's why this wood isn't suitable for large-scale production, where you need to be able to plan and preferably have uniform wood. The sawmill is on the same premises. This is because rather than transporting the tree trunks over long distances, it's easier to process them on site immediately. The men are producing tabletops. They are each made from one piece and weigh about 300 kilos. You can now see the intensive coloration. This is typical for tropical wood and what makes it so desirable, along with its special grain. As a result, luxury furniture for the whole world is made from the wood extracted from the Panama Canal after more than 100 years. From the Panama Canal, we move on to Vermont in the northeast of the USA. Granite walls tower up almost 200 meters high. You rarely can find such impressive rock formations. For over 130 years, the miners here have quarried granite in an area the size of a small town. The quarry provides not only construction material, but it's also a tourist attraction. Thousands of visitors come each year to marvel at the massive rock faces.
This is 2 miles wide and 4.5 miles long, and it's 10 miles deep. And we have enough granite here to last us about 4,500 years based on taking out about 175,000 cubic feet a year.
Amazing.
Never seen one like this before.
Really? Oh, I love it. I just love it.
This is where you come to see what God created.
There are many granite quarries in this region. This is the largest. The best blocks of granite come from here. Marco Parent, the foreman, is responsible for what God has created.
Rock of Ages granite. It was formed 380 million years ago. Beautiful, fine grain, tight grain, perfect for memorials, building, anything that anybody wants to do with it.
But how do the quarry workers remove the granite from the massive rock faces? In Vermont, the men always work from top to bottom. They first remove a block from the granite massif by drilling holes vertically next to each other. Thus, a piece of granite is left behind that the workers then remove by drilling a second time. Just the bottom is missing. Diamond saws are now used. At two different places, the workers drill a small hole through which they can guide the diamond saw wire. A machine pulls the water-cooled, constantly turning wire forwards bit by bit until the granite block is free from the rock face. That takes about 12 hours. At noon, the men have lunch, always together. Group cohesion is important for ensuring safety.
This little crew here, everyone depends on each other because someone makes a mistake on top and they're below them. So everybody's very tight-knitted, good friends on and off the job.
Men like Randy White have worked here their entire lives. Everyone has experienced their fingers and toes being crushed, but it can also be more dangerous.
You have a greenhorn. A new guy here, see us going, he's got a crack in it, but he doesn't realize it may run right up and stand on it, break it.
The workers suffered severe injuries, but survived. The rock now needs to be transported. Before this happens, the workers fit lifting eyes into the top part of the blocks. To them, they then attach heavy metal chains hanging from a crane, so the granite block weighing several tons can be lifted. Wendell Fassett ensures that everything runs smoothly. But why is he waving? He's directing the crane driver, Steve O'Hare, who can't see into the quarry. Without a signalman, the blocks could completely break into pieces if the crane driver pulled up too forcefully.
This is boom up, let it down, take it up, swing left, swing right.
Now everyone is very focused. The granite may not only break, but the heavy fragments could fall, injuring the workers. It all rests on the calm hands and feet of Steve, the crane driver. A whole mountain is stripped away little by little. But what about when the men are inside the 200-meter deep quarry? We discover these windy steps going up. That really can't be the only way out.
The way the men go in the hole, there's a little yellow elevator shaft type thing. They hook it up with the derrick, and it's like a little elevator. They hook onto it, swing over the hole, and then they lower the men right down onto that platform. There used to be shacks and the tools. One of the reasons why there's a set of ladders over there is if we lose power, the men have to be able to walk out and be able to go home on time.
The men extract up to 15 of these granite blocks every day. The season lasts from March to September. Later in the year, it's too cold to work. In winter, the workers receive unemployment benefits that differ only slightly from their normal wages. The blocks end up here, sorted according to their quality. The large ones will be used as building materials in houses, bathrooms, and kitchens. The smaller ones as gravel. Directly adjacent to the quarry, the workers cut individual slabs from the granite block so that they're the right size for further transport. The blocks are clamped in place for cutting. In addition, the men fix them into position using a special adhesive so the cut granite slabs don't fall. As granite is extremely hard, Brian Sayers uses a diamond saw blade.
Yeah, this core is about $24,000, $25,000. And it lasts for usually about 200 tippings. And we have to have it tipped usually about once a month.
On a solidity scale from 0 to 10, Granite has a value of between 7 and 9. Steel has 5. Diamond is regarded as the hardest material in the world at 10. That's why granite can only be processed using diamond saws. The granite block is cut after 5 hours.
It's mandatory in our industry to wear steel-toed boots. Steel-toed boots have saved my toes more than once. Everything, of course, granite is 200 pounds per cubic foot, so it's very heavy. So it's not uncommon to get stuff dropped on your fingers or your toes.
The single function of the machine operated by Bill Kandau is to position the granite slabs. Only when they are lying on top of each other can a worker pick them up with a forklift truck. In the nearby workshop, the roughly cut stone blocks are transformed into high-quality granite slabs for further processing.
First we grind the stone flat, take the saw marks out, then we do what you call the closing process, which closes the grain up, sort of like we would with a piece of wood. Then the next few steps will put the shine on and make it glossy so that you get the shiny polished finish.
Owing to its unique black and white grain, the granite from Vermont is regarded as one of the highest quality and most expensive types of granite in the world. And a significant number of workers have risked their fingers and toes for it. Mavericks Unlimited.